Hello, hello. This is part 2 of what I'm just going to cram together into a 2-part costuming saga. This one, as nicely as the first part went, the second part, not so much. Sadly, I didn't record much of what was happening while it was happening, just because so much fell apart. And I'm also finding it really difficult to record and sew and parent children who are doing school at home. That is a lot harder than I thought it would be. Some work was done, and I would like to share that with you right now. Here I am making the lining, this blue bedsheet fabric, for the secret pants, the orange fabric. And I've got the folds lined up and matching. And now I am lining up the bottom of the waistband of the pants with the top of the lining fabric so that the waistband would not be lined, just the rest of the pants. And now to cut them out, I am coming at you with this voiceover from after this project has already failed. But I'm still sharing it with you because we might be able to learn something here. This was pants attempt number 2. The first ones were not lined and were too short, as well as not floofy enough. I cannot believe I was sewing with the door open. Oh my goodness. I would not have intentionally done that. I hate having things behind me that, could spook me in any way. And that would do it. Okay, this is the fun bit. Not at all. So here I am rolling all the seams because my intention going into this was to make clothing that I could wear not just as a costume, but as clothing. So it needed to be able to survive washing and drying as well as wearing. And that unfortunately entailed rolling all of these seams because I don't have an overlocker and I don't trust my zigzag stitch. So I instead used this process for pretty much every item that I made for this costume. It was very tedious. Ooh, I hate pinning. It just keeps going. And yep, there you sew up that line over at the machine. Oh. Okay. I was going to take you into the fabric store with me, but I feel like a colossal weenie when I go in there. I do not have fabric store confidence. But yay! I went and I got some stuff. What I got is, I found my blue fabric. The vest is happening. Eyelets. The lady inside said these are good, so I'm excited for that. Toggle. Not exactly what I was hoping for, but I can work with it. For my cloak. And the cord that will go in the eyelets on the vest. Oh, and some interfacing to stiffen up the vest and give it longevity and such. It was a successful shopping trip. And now I can continue on with my sewing project. These hobbits are happening. Now to get some coffee and head home. Okay, what am I working on today? Well, I got this pattern. It was on sale. Yay! So what I want to tackle is this right here. This corsety vest thing. So, I got my instructions out of the envelope. And I found my pattern pieces. So I've got, these are the 4 pieces for the vest. All cut out, I think ready to go. This is going to be like 2/3 of the vest. Because it comes in, okay, so you can kind of see it here. There's like a side panel on either side. There's 2 front panels and then there's the back. The 2 sides and the back are all going to be in this. The front panels are going to be in this, which I just picked up today. Is that not gorgeous? Okay, this light is kind of messing with the color, but it's a really pretty navy blue, and it's got this really nice striping. I also picked up some interfacing. This is like a stiff, the fabric kind that will sew in, because even though this is going to be for a costume, I still want the option to wear it as clothing. And even as a costume, it has to be washable. But this right here, this is my nemesis. I loathe commercial patterns. This thing may as well be in some ancient language that has been lost to humanity. Because I cannot figure this thing out. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. Wish me luck. I'm gonna just do it. Wait a second. Fold? So is there a fold? Am I cutting this out twice, or am I lining it with a separate fabric? I really don't get this. Ugh. I wonder if there's a tutorial out there where someone has already made this pattern, so I can wrap my head around how to do it. Do the YouTubes! There's nobody online who has made this particular pattern. But thankfully there are a lot of people who explain how to read patterns. So there I've cut out the orange. I still have to cut out the blue. And that will become the one vest. And then, as well as all those pieces, I will have to cut out the interface. Well, there are the pants. They're finished. And they suck. So, I've opened the hem back out, and now I am picking the seams from the elastic. Because this is perfect waistband length and width. And I'm going to reuse it. All that for nothing. Okay, second bottoms take two. The skirt that I had already made out of that orange fabric that I just showed you, with the patch pockets and the food printed fabric, that I'm keeping. Awesome. I had planned, as you just saw, to make secret pants, which are basically like a split skirt, it's also known as, or like palazzo pants or whatever, the pants with the big leg. So when your legs are together, it looks like a skirt, and then secret pants. That fabric was a nightmare to work with, and I could not get it big enough. I ended up making 2 pairs of pants. The first pair had a beautifully perfect waistband. Flat, gorgeous, loved it. But the crotch was too short between like crotch and waist. So I got a wedgie without even putting them on. Then I tried to alter those. Altered the pattern to make a new pair. And I ended up screwing up the waistband. So it didn't lay flat, it was all rolled and just not awesome. And I still didn't have enough fabric. They still looked like pants, not like a skirt that was secretly pants. So, scrapped that idea completely. Salvaged the waistband. And take 2 is going to be this. So I'm going to just forget the secret pants for now. I will find different fabric somewhere else and try again much later. For both Hobbits, I'm going to be going with skirts. I think. So much has changed already and could still change. But I'm plowing ahead with this idea. So, this is the fabric that I'm going to use for skirt number 2. I don't know if it's actually suede, or it feels like it though. It's like a soft, leathery, suede-y. I don't know how to describe it. It's really nice though. It's kind of like a warm brown. And on the other side, it's got this like satiny, so it doesn't have to be lined. And it will still feel nice on the inside and the outside, which I like. Because originally I didn't like that orange fabric. And part of the reason that one of the pants got messed up is I had to line them. That didn't work out. Anyway, I don't have to line this. So, what I've done, here is the fabric. This is the satiny side. And then there's like the velvety, leathery, soft side. This is just the fabric. You can see it's sort of draped over my table. It's a pretty long piece. I have it folded in half, and I cut, so I folded the fabric in half, selvage end to selvage end, and then cut it in half, and the whole length is about 60 inches. The width is like 30 inches. So from here down to the bottom. Okay, so I'm going back to this simple rectangle skirt pattern that I essentially used to make the orange skirt. And I was lucky that the dimensions of my fabric, I think, pretty much are going to, come on, focus. There we go. I think the dimensions of my fabric are going to pretty much work, which is awesome, because this fabric, like so much of my stash, was given to me. I didn't have a say in how big it was. I just lucked out. Because I need the length of my skirt to be 27.5 inches, and it's 30, but that'll give me plenty of wiggle room for hemming and stuff. This is a much nicer fabric. It's not fraying nearly as much as the orange stuff did. So I don't think I'm going to have to go too crazy, but I still want to encase hems and seams and make everything really like long lasting and sturdy. So that's going to be perfect. And then what I figure, so this is just one long rectangle for the skirt. And it's recommended that the length be 111. Well, my rectangle folded in half is about 60. So that'll be about 120. Again, giving me plenty of room to either have some wiggle room for whoopsies or to make a really poofy skirt. Okay, so then what else I did? I needed a waistband. And for this, instead of, again, using this, because I want this to be elasticated, it's not going to be zippered, and it needs to get over my hips. So what I did is went over to my scrap pile, garbage. Like, look at this, it's all shredded and frayed, and this is stuff that's like sewn and encased, and it's still falling apart. It's garbage. Anyway, so this length, this whole length is the perfect length to go all the way around my hips. And I can cinch it, because this is exactly what I used for the orange skirt of the same fabric. So what I did is I took this, and when I laid out this fabric to cut here, I basically laid this like that, and then cut a strip. So I've got my strip of fabric, and it's 2 layers because it's the folded, so it's 2. So what I'm going to do is sew one of these ends together with the right sides together, and then I can open it up and have a big long strip, which will work perfect because this is about twice the size of the elastic. So with my big long brown strip, I'll be able to fold this in half, sewing the elastic in. That's the theory. We shall see if it works in practice. This is the beautiful satiny patterned fabric that I used for the pockets for the brown skirt. And that is all I had, what you see there. Not much to do anything with. So I was pretty thrilled that I had the opportunity to use it for pockets for this particular project. side seam of my brown skirt is all pinned up together, except for this one little spot where I've pinned the two sides separately to the pockets. So I'll have the opening and I can put my hand in, and then I've got it pinned all the way up to the waistband, and I will sew on that machine. Hi, how's it going? Okay, this is a weird, yeah, I don't even know what we're getting at. Anyway, this is weird because for you, it's only been like 3 seconds since we last saw each other. For me, I don't remember. Things went off the rails spectacularly. Okay, let's backtrack a little bit. I want to explain sort of what happened, because there's a lot of tutorials out there where everything just happens perfectly, which is all well and good. And, you know, when you're going for a tutorial, you want to see all the steps in order and see how they work out perfectly so that, you know, it guides you to your own everything working. I want to put this in particular out there because there were hiccups. Oh yeah. And very often when you're making anything, whether it's a craft, whether it's sewing, painting, anything at all, there's usually going to be hiccups. Especially if you're doing something that you've never done before, you know, your first time, it sort of comes with the territory. And I just want to normalize that whoopsies happen, and, you know, how you sort of roll with the punches, and I like when other people do that, so this is my contribution to that, rolling with the punches, because, you know, whoopsies happen. So I've got both my Hobbit costumes here, and going way back to the beginning, what I originally planned was to just use fabric that I already had. With that in mind, originally, this lovely, awful orange curtain panel was going to be the bottom for both Hobbit variations. And as you've already seen, and I think it was the first video, I have so lost track of time now. Anyway, if it isn't in this video that you've already seen, it's in the first video, which I will link down below. I already made a skirt, and that first skirt, perfect. Couldn't have turned out any better. All the seams and the hems and everything were all rolled and encased, so I think I will have some longevity with this skirt. Now granted, this was awful fabric to work with. Awful. It just shredded. I was starting to get the feeling that this curtain panel didn't want to be anything but a curtain panel, and was just like destroying itself in protest. But what I was thinking of doing originally was both in this curtain panel. I'm just going to tell you outright, because I don't know if I've mentioned it before. So, one of the Hobbit variations is my original character, based on a name generator from the original Lord of the Rings movies, back when they came out forever ago. The other Hobbit is going to be a Sailor Venus Hobbit mashup. So for the Sailor Venus one, what I had planned was secret pants out of the curtain, and the vest, corset style vest, with the curtain, another fabric, navy blue for the middle, and then yellow laces. So that was my original drawing. Sailor Venus colors, and that was working out perfectly. This is the one that gave me the trouble all along, was my original character, because I wanted to use this gorgeous canvas. Here we go. And it's like floral. It had all sorts of light blue, red, more coral than orange flowers. And the base is this like confused, not quite brown, not quite green, but it's really pretty. The only problem was this fabric doesn't match this fabric. And that would be okay by itself, except that I wanted to put an apron with my original character Hobbit, because I just thought an apron would be perfect for a Hobbit character, and I wasn't going to put one with Venus, and anyway. But I didn't have any fabric that... I had fabric that looked good with the vest, and I had fabric that looked good with the skirt, but nothing that looked good with both. I couldn't tie everything together, and it was so frustrating. So, the secret pants, just, that idea exploded. And that was a good thing, actually, because the skirt that I was just working on in the previous clip, that's, I mean, obviously, if you just saw the clip, you saw that it's like a brown color. It's a completely different fabric. I didn't have enough to put in my planner, journal, record of stuff, whatever. Anyway, so this fabric that I'm now using, so instead of secret pants, I'm doing 2 skirts instead of 1, which meant more work, because now I needed something to wear underneath the second skirt, since I was going to line the secret pants and therefore not have, I was just going to have lined secret pants and the blouse. Now I needed something to go underneath the blouse. So I ended up making bloomers, and wow, did those work out perfectly. I kind of wish I had filmed all this as we were going, but it was so frustrating being in those situations. And then when it clicked and I finally figured out what I was doing, I was just in the zone and I couldn't be bothered. So I ended up making bloomers, and you'll see all this when I finally do the big reveal of everything. The bloomers worked out unbelievably. I saved all the fabric from when I was making the blouse and the shift, and I used those, which turned out to be perfect. I made the majority of the bloomers, and I'm calling them bloomers. I don't really know. They're not split drawers because they're like actual pants. They're in the style of what I wore as bloomers way back when I was a kid, when I did a Raggedy Ann costume for Halloween one year. Okay, so these pants are perfect. The majority of them I used the muslin from the shift, and then for the ruffle, because I wanted white at the bottom, I used the lighter of the broadcloth from the blouse, the same fabric I used on the back, because I didn't want it to be too stiff since the muslin was really, really soft. So I used like the medium weight broadcloth for the ruffles. I am taking a break from ruffling. Oh my goodness, pleats and ruffles are just shift, blouse, skirts, apron, bloomers. I'm taking a break. Anyway, but that turned out perfectly. They're the right length, they look awesome, they fit really well, which is, I ended up using a pair of flannel pajama pants that are way too big, but that's perfect because the cotton that I used for the bloomers, for the ruffle pants, for the whatever you want to call them, there's no stretch in that cotton. So I used oversized, no stretch flannel pants as my pattern, which worked out perfectly. Before that, I found out one of the things that went wrong, I think. I was using wide leg pants, but they had stretch, which just doesn't translate properly. I don't know exactly why that is, but it is. So I highly recommend, if you're going to use an existing item of clothing as a pattern for a new item of clothing, make sure that they're similar. If you're using stretch fabric, then use a stretchy piece of clothing. If you're using not stretch fabric, then use not stretchy clothing. I hope that makes sense. That was the lesson that I learned with that one. So those pants worked out perfectly. And then I ended up going with the brown skirt, which, again, perfect. So the brown skirt works beautifully with the vest, or the fabric that I wanted to use for the vest all along. And I had this fabric, this green right here, which I got from Spoonflower, I don't even know how many years ago now. It's a Tinkerbell inspired. So it has a giant leaf pattern all over it. It's beautiful. And it fits perfectly. Nothing matches exactly. Well, the pocket and the vest lining, that might be matchy-matchy. But otherwise, nothing else in the original Hobbit really matches, but it's all the same tone. It's that yellow-green for the base, and it's a yellow-green for the apron, and a warm yellowy brown for the skirt. So it's all the same tone, and that's what I was missing with the original plan. So even though I wanted secret pants, I was really excited about that, and I was really, really bummed when it didn't work. This ended up being a blessing in disguise, because now both Hobbit costumes work perfectly. The colors that I wanted for Venus were exactly what I wanted all along. And originally I was thinking I would just stick with that one and scrap the original Hobbit. But then when I found out that the brown fabric that my mother-in-law gave me was like the perfect amount. It was exactly what I needed to make the perfect skirt. Very, very frustrating. Not fun to live through at the time, but now that we're on the other side of that, I'm kind of happy that it happened, because it all worked out in the end. Okay, so that didn't really exist. I had to add that, but now that's done. That's done. That's done. That's done. That's done. And that's done. One whole costume complete. And just 2 more things to finish up for the other one. That's so exciting. On to the final looks.